The committee meeting is now starting. I'm Bill Rosendahl, who's vice chair of it. Joining me is the member of the committee from the harbor. I call him Papa Joe. And we want to wish, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I want to thank everybody who cooperated with each other as we went through the issues last week. Many of you know I had planned to be there in the demonstration, but health issues took priority over it, and I didn't want to be a spectacle to myself, to be candid with you. But we have a lot to talk about today regarding that issue, but if you could indulge us, we're going to wait until Tom LaBonge comes for that, and we'll start with the harbor issues, if we could. Good morning.
Yes, you'd like to start. There is one item on the agenda that's a harbor item. That would be item 2. And under that item, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval the First Amendment to an agreement with ACOM Technical Services, which is a contract for construction management services for the South Wilmington Grade Separation Project. The amendment would extend the term from 3 years to 5 years, expiring in May 2016.
Okay.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, council members. Mike Christensen, Deputy Executive Director, Port of Los Angeles. This is an extension of a construction management contract for the South Wilmington Grade Separation. Due to some delays in getting the project started, we needed a little extra time on this CM contract, which began with a constructability review about a year or so ago. We're not asking for any more budget. The budget remains intact.
Joe, any questions?
Mike, just for the record, can you give us a brief history of the South Wilmington grade separation?
Yes, council member. South Wilmington, first off, turn it back to the TRAPAC project, which is what's driving this entire program. TRAPAC is enlarging and automating their terminal, and as part of that, we need to move the main entrance from its current location at Figueroa and Harry Bridges to a new location that doesn't cross the rail line. In order to do that, we need to build a new grade separation, which will not only serve the new TRAPAC terminal, but also Banning's Landing and all the other businesses in that part of the harbor. It's about an $80 million project. It's a very complicated grade separation. In order to do that, we have to bring the highway traffic over the tracks in the vicinity of the DWP power plant, and then into that whole area of the harbor. We bid the construction over the summer. We had to reject the bids that we received in September due to some problems with the specifications. We rebid that. The Board of Harbor Commissioners awarded the construction contract earlier in November, so we're ready to go.
And would this have an impact on the Wilmington Waterfront project?
It's a key element of the Wilmington Waterfront as well, in that in order to gain access to Banning's Landing and to the water itself, due to the increases in train traffic over the years to come, we'll need to have grade separated access. So this is that grade separated access.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And this will cost approximately $64 million?
The total all-in cost for South Wilmington is close to $80 million. The construction contract itself is $55. When you add the soft costs for design and everything else, it brings it up close to $80.
Now, does this have any relationship to dredging the harbor, making it bigger and deeper, and protecting us from potential competition when the Panama Canal opens?
It does, council member. It's a keystone project to the TRAPAC program, and as such is necessary in order to keep us competitive, in order to have good access to that without crossing tracks and without stacking up traffic on the freeways and the arterial streets. So yes, it does.
So you feel we're on schedule with that as well?
Yes, we are, on the whole program.
That's obviously key. What do we have, 43% of the market?
Yes.
And we want to stay that way if we can pull that off.
That's correct.
Okay, that's it, Mr. Member. No,
Thank you,
okay.
thank you.
So we'll unanimously approve this. Thank you. Did you want to comment?
No, we concur with Alvin Newman, CAO's office. We concur with the assessment by the Harbor Department and recommend approval.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
When is this scheduled?
This clerk would, next week sometime? Next Tuesday or Wednesday, possibly?
Yes, it'll be scheduled more than likely the week of December 4th.
December 4th. Great. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
on the agenda, there are 4 items all dealing with concession agreements, and they all 4 are being, the Department of Airports is asking that all 4 be amended with the same provisions, and this would be items 3, 4, 5, and 12.
Very good.
Would you like to consider those together?
We would. Could we have someone come up and give us a quick summary of all that? Miss Debbie Bauer over there. Good morning.
Good morning.
Debbie, good morning.
Debbie Bowers, Deputy Executive Director at the airport, or at Los Angeles World Airports. These are extensions for all of our current concessionaires. As you know, we're in the process now of redoing 4, 5, 7, and 8 on separate contracts. The Westfield has won the terminal commercial managers for 1, 2, 3, 6, and Tom Bradley International. And so it's just to keep concessions going as we start rolling them over so that we continue to have service as we're under construction. And it's just continuing their contracts.
So it's a ho-hum, so to speak? It's
Yeah.
routine for us at this point?
Correct.
Okay, do we have a motion on this?
I move that we approve items 3, 4, 5, and 12.
So moved. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And this will be scheduled in the second week of December?
When would they come?
Yes, all of these contracts will be going in December.
Great, okay.
Prior to
Thank you very
the
much.
Should we go on to item 6? Item 6 is the third amendment to a contract with ACOM Technical Services, and it's a contract for program management services to support LAWA's capital improvement program at LAX, as well as other assets.
Mr. Cardenas, everybody, give him a round of applause. The council elected to the House of Representatives. A great guy.
The amending language would extend the term from 6 years to 8 years, would increase the contract amount by $38.8 million, and would make technical clarifications.
Okay, does anybody want to give us a quick summary of that?
What item is this? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
This is item 6.
Item 6, thank you.
Yes, good morning. Roger Johnson, Deputy Executive Director, Los Angeles World Airports. The item before you is an amendment for AECOM. They've been providing program management services for the airport on the airport's development program. This amendment will extend their services an additional 2 years. You may recall when we awarded the contract, we left the option open to possibly extend this contract up to 10 years. We've decided at this point in time to amend it only for 2 more years and add enough money to continue services to allow completion of the new Tom Bradley terminal, the new central utility plant, and our elevator and escalator program. So we've added funding in there and additional services to get us through that program. We have recently gone to our board with additional capital projects totaling close to $2.5 billion, and we felt it would be a good time now to actually go out and recompete at the first of the year for new contracts to give other firms the ability to compete for this work. So this work will carry us through completion of most of what we call the Capital Budget 1 projects. We will be going out at the first of the year for additional services for the next round of capital projects. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you, Roger.
Thank
I
you.
remember when you came on board, strictly when we talked about the environmental issues, and we held up the whole project until you were on board and were able to bless the project each step of the way. So I'm very grateful for your leadership and your incredible professionalism with that.
Thank you, sir.
What's our time frame when this will be completed, and how much money are we talking about?
We will be completed with the entire Tom Bradley project, which includes the new construction and then what we call the core renovation, which is the new security checkpoint and completing the renovation of the old core of the old terminal. That will be done at the end of 2016. We are right now, our schedule for completion of the new work is in March. We will then be working on completing the concessions, looking to open the terminal, the new terminal, probably in June. So we're a little behind schedule, but we're still making...
June of what?
June of 2013. So,
And
yeah.
what is your overall cost when you think it through?
Right now,
Including
for...
the power station and all that.
For the Tom Bradley, including the central utility plant, we've spent to date close to $2 billion, so we're about two-thirds through the $3.1 billion of the initial capital program.
And when you say that, I've always said, since I was a candidate, now an elected, that the costs get passed on to the airlines, and it helps us with competition in terms of regionalism, and could assist Ontario in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, the cost for the capital project goes into the rate base to the airlines, which is reflected in the airline's cost per enplanement. So it goes into the airline's rate base.
Because one of the things I hope happens is that when people go online to catch a flight, they'll see nonstop, direct, frequent, and discounted flights out of Ontario as well by the major airlines, who will be incented just by the fact that it costs more to land at LAX. Do you see that?
I do see our landing fees will be going up substantially, yes, so over the next few years.
Yeah. Joe, any questions? No questions, comments? Well, it's outstanding what you're doing. We appreciate how it's been going, and so we're going to move forward with this.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's left, folks?
Did you move approval?
I'm sorry, yes. Move for
Second.
approval, yes.
Okay. And then under item 7, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval the First Amendment to a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group. This is a contract for consulting services to assist LAWA in the implementation of a facilities asset management program. The amendments would extend the contract term from 3 years to 6 years and would increase the compensation authority by approximately $4 million.
Good morning.
Good morning, Councilmember.
Give us a quick brief.
Good morning. My name is Michael Feldman. I'm Deputy Executive Director for LA World Airports Facilities Management. And this program that we're considering this morning is an amendment to a contract that is really preparing LA World Airports to accept all of the new facilities that Mr. Johnson just summarized for you. It's a big game changer for the organization to be moving from fairly aged facilities and equipment to the new equipment and buildings that are being delivered to us. And it's a big change in our business practice, which is really what these services are providing to us, a state-of-the-art system for managing all of the new assets and facilities that are being built, not only by us, but those that are being built by our tenants.
Anything new about the runway status lights? Do you know anything about that?
The runway status lights that project is moving forward.
Do you have a sense of when that would be complete?
You know, I know it's been integrated with our airfield construction program, and Roger might be somebody who
Roger,
could...
do you have an answer for that? Folks, these runway status lights are another safety measure to make sure that we don't have problems between different planes moving around on the airport.
Yes, sir. We have gone out to bid on the work for the runway status
Great.
lights as part of the reconstruction of runway 25R. So
What's
the
your
project's
sense of the
moving forward.
timetable on that?
It's going to take probably a year and a half or so before we see some real movement, and a lot of that's just based on the FAA's timeframe, quite
Okay,
candidly.
make sure you give us updates from time to
Yes,
time
sir.
on that. And also, up in the tower, there was a hope to have 47 trained, experienced, qualified folks. We had like 34, 35, then we had some trainees. Has that number gone up?
Candidly, I'm not aware,
Okay,
Councilman.
could you get back to us on that, on how we're doing with the tower and the folks up in the tower? That's part of the process of safety, is also having qualified folks in the tower. 47 has always been our goal, and I'd like to know where we are with that as well.
We'll get back to you.
Last thing is, I heard Gary Tobin do a little screaming about the A380 and waiting here and waiting there and so on. How are we doing with the A380 when they occasionally come in? I understand that plane isn't what it was made out to be. There's been lots of safety concerns, and other people have, changed their contracts. How are we with that particular plane?
We have right now 6 A380s on the ground at LAX. We just added a new airline bringing in A380s, I believe, 2 weeks ago. The plane, I can't speak to its safety record. I mean, obviously, they had some problems with the engine early on. I can tell you from a performance perspective, I know the airlines that are flying it have been very happy with its performance. We do have to get this terminal done because right now we do have A380s parking out at the remote pads on a daily basis.
Right.
Because we just don't have enough A380 size gates for the aircraft.
So that'll be part of your Bradley renovation. We'll get
That's
that.
correct. When we're completed, we'll have 9 A380 gates at LAX. We'll have the most A380 gates of any airport in the United States. Go ahead.
Great. Okay, do we have a motion to move forward with this?
Yes, motion to
So
approve.
moved and second.
Yes.
And this must be before the council. It says by Friday, January 11th. Am I seeing that correct?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll schedule it appropriately. Thank you very much. What's left?
Item 8 is the proposed third amendment to an operating agreement with Service Air, which provides airport courtesy transportation services at LA Ontario International Airport. The amendment would extend the term by 12 months at a new hourly rate of $70.71, representing about a 2% increase in the existing rate. And this is pending completion of new contracts.
Right, 2 new RFPs. Debbie Bowers, Deputy Executive Director at Los Angeles Road Airports again. This is to extend them for a year. We have 2 contracts. We actually split that service up. We're going to have a Conrack shuttle service that's just going straight from the terminals to the Conrack. And then the shuttle service within the parking lot is going to be operated by the parking lot operator. We have an RFQ. We've received the responses for the parking lot operator, and we have an RFP on the street right now for the Conrack shuttle. So we're in the process of doing it. We just want to make sure that we have a shuttle service while we're processing those.
Makes sense. Not the time to ask the question, but do you have any sense of when we'll get the trains into the airport? Be it the Green
Loaded
Line
question.
or the Pennsylvania Line. Well, that's been one of my dreams, folks, is to get a light rail right into that airport. Hopefully that'll happen as we go forward with these projects. It'll set us up for that, right?
It would be nice.
Yeah, okay. It would be nice.
Let's dream big, Bill. Debbie, forgive my ignorance, Conrad, what's
Oh, I'm
Conrad?
sorry, Consolidated Rental Car Facility.
Okay.
And so we do have one in Ontario. It's really nice. And that's where all the rental cars go into one
Oh,
facility.
one
Right.
facility, got it. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So moved.
Move to approve, yes.
Great, 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 great.
Moving on to item 9, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval
Bouncing up and down.
Lots of work going on.
a new lease and license agreement with Air New Zealand Limited, and this is for airline Premier Passenger Lounge space, approximately 21,000 square feet in the Tom Bradley International Terminal at LAX. And this is for a term of 10 years and would produce approximately $1.5 million in rent revenues per year.
I'm Debbie Bowers again. We're pretty excited. This is our first lounge space in our new Bradley West terminal. And Air New Zealand actually is doing it on behalf of Star Alliance. And we've seen the designs, and it's actually going to be a very nice lounge.
Great.
So we're pretty excited about it.
Seems like another no-brainer, please.
Bill Koenig, CAO's office. We have reviewed this report and we've reported back to the mayor. It has not yet been sent to the council, but we do concur with the department's recommendation.
Very good, okay. Mr. Member?
I
with
move
it?
that we approve.
Question, so approved. It's unanimous by the committee. Thank you.
We have the next one.
Please, you got the next one.
Under
Have a
item
seat.
10, The Fourth Amendment to a contract with Cubic Transportation Systems is a contract for the operation and maintenance of the computerized parking revenue control system at LAX and at Ontario. The amendment would extend the term by 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew, would increase compensation authority for up to $16 million for the additional services during the extended period, and would require LAWA to pay a termination payment if it should terminate the contract during this extension period, and would add provisions for compliance with the city's limitations on political campaign contributions by cities, to cities' elected officials or candidates for elective office.
Debbie Bowers again. This is for our parking revenue system. The Ontario parking revenue system is in the parking operator RFP, so the operator will be required to install it and to maintain it. At LAX, it will be incorporated into our parking operator RFP, which we are currently working on and hope to have on at least the RFQ on the street in January. So we are processing these. It's just to make sure that we have a revenue system as we start turning the garages over to the new operator.
When you go into it, how many years are you going to give it when we finally approve something?
The new operator, we're looking at a 7 plus either 3 1-years or 1 3-year.
I see. It seems more like another ho-hum. Do you have any comment on it? I don't either. Thank you very much. We'll approve it unanimously. So moved.
And item 11, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for approval the first amendments to 3 contracts. Each are for professional construction support services as needed. And these are contracts with Parsons Transportation Group, Veneer Development and Construction Consulting, and Jacobs Project Management Company. The amendments would extend the terms and increase compensation so that these companies can continue with the projects they're working on through completion of the projects.
Good morning, Roger Johnson again. These amendments are very similar to the AECOM amendment. These firms are providing construction management and construction support services for a variety of projects. Most notably, Parsons is providing construction support on the Tom Bradley Terminal. Vanner is providing support on the Tom Bradley Terminal, as well as our elevator and escalator replacement project, and Jacobs is working on the Central Utility Plant. These extensions will allow these folks to continue working on these projects through the completion of the projects. Similar to the AECOM, we will be going out at the beginning of the year for new, to compete the construction management contracts to allow more firms an opportunity to compete for the work at LAX. So this allows us to continue.
More competition, the better the deal. We're looking at a lot of money here, I see. 25 million, 7.5, 41.5. How did you determine the total amounts? Especially the increases, 16.5, 2.5.
The increases right now are based primarily on looking at what the burn rate has been historically, and then looking at the amount of work that's remaining to be done over the next several years. We budget, as part of our capital budgeting program, we budget 27% for what we call soft costs, which are design fees, program management costs, construction management costs, and the other city services costs. So the construction management component runs somewhere around 10% or almost 50% of those soft costs. So, and we are running right now at about 22%. So we're actually running about 5% under budget on our soft costs. So.
Is this a question for you? It has to do with TSA and those scanners that they had. Now they're taking them out. They say they're a little too intrusive. And then there's also been the issue of having enough custom agents. to handle. Do you have a comment about either of those?
I can't comment really on the staffing of either. I do know that they are taking some of the scanners out, so, and I do know that we're constantly battling for the customs positions. As you're probably aware, in the new Tom Bradley terminal, we will have 76 primary inspection booths and 16 self-check-in kiosks. So we'll have a significant amount of facilities available. The question is really whether Customs and Immigration are going to staff the
I
facility.
know that Senator Feinstein was showing real leadership on this. Are we still in need of the federal support?
Yes, we definitely are.
Could we prepare a letter for us to send from the city?
I may ask Mark to
Sure,
step
Mark.
in on that one.
If you think we can be of any help, Mark,
Yes.
from a lobbying standpoint, with Senator Feinstein and members of the House, would be happy to do that.
Absolutely. Our delegation has been very helpful in trying to help us. Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports. Our delegation back in D.C. has been very helpful in trying to solve these problems. But, budget times are tough in D.C. and, CBP is not quick to take from one facility to send to another facility. So we're trying to work as best we can within their constraints, and our delegation's very helpful, but we will consider putting a letter together for the council to sign if that's.
Yeah, we would love to either do a resolution or some kind of a statement that shows that we're very serious about wanting whatever support.
Absolutely, be happy to work with your staff and put something together.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, obviously, this agenda today in TCT, very heavy on the airport, which is great. It goes to show that we want to be the premier airport of the world, and we're doing that. And I'm proud to be a part of this effort. Mr. Johnson, specifically in this agenda item number 11, there's a number of construction projects. For me, it's also proud to know that we're putting people to work, and you have a lot of construction jobs at our airports, and helping our trades and ensuring that these men and women support their families and put food on the table. Can you tell us how many construction jobs we've created thus far, off the top of your head?
Yeah, off the top of my head, we've created about 5,000 construction jobs actually on the airport construction jobs. For example, the Tom Bradley terminal right now, we have about 1,500 people working a day. And then we have almost that same total working on the rest of the projects on the airport right now. But all of the projects that we've either completed or are currently ongoing, about 5,000. Construction jobs, and then the indirect employment rates up close to 40,000 jobs. So according to a study done by the LA Economic Development Council, the $3.1 billion development programs created close to 40,000 jobs in Southern California. So.
And
I might say this is the #1 public works project in the region at this point.
And the majority of these are all project labor agreements, so we are hiring local. These are our neighbors throughout the county.
90% of the projects right now are being done under the project labor agreement. The new work will be done under the PLA. We do have local hire goals that we're going for. We're continually pushing the contractors. A lot of them hire out of the halls, so, they take out of the hall who they can get. But, we are pushing the local hire. And we do, the Bureau of Construction Administration keeps track of all the zip codes for all of the workers working on the airport, so.
Good. Yep. That's my message on it. If you concur, Mr. Rosendahl, that, let's approve these items, but also let's ensure that these contractors are hiring our own.
Amen.
And so, thank you.
Very good. So moved and second.
Yes, second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're down to the Van Nuys Airport item, which is item 13, which concerns a report by LAWA responding to a motion by Cardenas, Englander, Krikorian, Zine concerning management and governance options at Van Nuys Airport. Do you want to take that one up now?
We'll do it. Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
Good morning, Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports. Last year, Councilman Cardenas and some of your colleagues introduced a motion to have us look at how we were handling the management of Van Nuys Airport, stakeholder outreach, how the commission was doing its job relative to Van Nuys. And we presented you a report in April that sort of broke down our response to the 3 points in that motion and had some recommendations. I'm happy to report today that we are implementing all the recommendations, short of, we haven't been waiting for you to take up this report. We've gone ahead and implemented those recommendations. I think we're doing a lot of good work out at Van Nuys. I've got Jess Romo, the Van Nuys Airport Manager, here in the audience who could step to the table and help describe what he and his staff are doing out there at Van Nuys relative to keeping the board up to date and keeping the stakeholders engaged. And
How are we doing with the local committee group, the local activists have been engaged, and with our council colleagues?
in terms of the specifics, I think I'd like Jess to come forward and tell me, explain specifically what he and his staff have been doing.
Good morning, Jess Romo, the airport manager at Van Nuys. And on the note relative to outreach, in addition to working with the local group, specifically the Citizens Advisory Council, we meet with them once a month. They also have ad hoc committees where we will have breakout sessions to listen to what some of their specific concerns are, whether they're noise-related, beautification, general relationship building between LA World Airports and local airport staff and the members of the CAC. We are also providing regular updates to the Board of Airport Commissioners on these initiatives to ensure that they understand what is being talked about, what is of concern out in the Valley for those that attend the CAC regularly, as well as the balance of the community stakeholders.
Miguel Franco from the Office of Councilman Tony Cardenas. We agree with the recommendations that Lau put forward. The only thing that we would ask is, instead of semi-annually Board of Airport Commissioner meetings in the Valley, we'd ask for quarterly meetings. Since we introduced the motion and the reports come out, the BOAC has met twice in the Valley at Van Nuys City Hall, and we thank them for that. And I think we're on the right track and look forward to having the discussion on the floor.
So should we do this quarterly as a recommendation to the report?
I think let's add that. I would agree that any opportunity we can to be inclusive and transparent, even if something I would support.
I do too, and with Tony going on to the House of Representatives, we better be good with him.
Yeah.
They're the federal regulators.
If we need some
over all
federal
of
dollars.
Any other comment, Mr. Mayor?
No, sir.
Okay, so moved. Thank you all very much for
Thank
this. And I can appreciate it very much. I have to deal with the Santa Monica Airport, and one of the concerns is a buffer zone. The bigger the buffer, the better the opportunities for surrounding communities. And I just appreciate your sensitivity to the communities around that airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you.
And that brings us to item 1, which is...
Item 1. Numero uno. Por favor.
This is continued consideration of the motion by Parks and Smith, proposing that the city's ordinance that concerns payment of the living wage and the increased health care benefits to private sector airport workers at LAX be amended to include add certain requirements, including establishment of a minimum standard for the basic provisions of a health care medical plan. This was discussed at your last meeting. Representatives of the city attorney, the Board of Contract Administration, and I guess the CAO, the CAO is ill this morning, but the representatives are here to discuss this further with the committee.
Firstly, I'd like to ask staff to come up, various parts of our government departments, and explain what this is all about. And then I'd like you to just kind of hang loose and let the public come up and everybody interact, and then we'll move from there, if that's okay as a procedure. Tell us where we're at right now and what this is all about.
Come on, Ad.
Morning.
Good morning. John Reamer, the Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration. We came before you on the 13th of November to discuss the verbal motion, as was alluded to already, dealing with the city's living wage ordinance. And the obvious concerns center around establishing a minimum standard as it relates to health care, addressing any wage differential that may or may not be given to employees, and exploring what impact, if any, this ordinance has on businesses at the airport. What we've done is presented for your consideration this morning 3 steps that we believe we need to have take place for the city family in order to respond to these items in the motion. Because of the federal Affordable Care Act, which will go into effect more than likely January 2014, any steps that we were to make on this ordinance without considering that would be somewhat premature. The City of LA did take the lead as far as establishing a health care component in our living wage, but this could potentially be impacted by the Affordable Care Act. So our recommendations as presented are the following. First of all, that the Chief Legislative Analyst will examine the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act and identify the possible impacts that this will have on the city's living wage ordinance. That will address points 2 and 3 in this motion, which deal with establishing a minimum standard as it relates to health care and any employee wage differential. Also, that the Chief Administrative Officer will finalize a review of the health benefit payment by airport employers to determine whether the payment accurately reflects the cost of health care and to assess the impact of the health benefit payment on airport employers and employees. Currently, our ordinance, as it was amended in 2009, requires that the CAO do a review every 3 years to see whether or not the cost that we are providing in our ordinance is sufficient enough to address health care concerns. The CAO has already started that process, but they do not want to finalize it until we can get a better grasp of what the Affordable Care Act will do to our ordinance. So we believe it's appropriate for, in parallel, if you will, as the CLA is examining the Affordable Care Act, we table finalizing the report as it relates to cost until we see how those two correlate. And then the third would be the Bureau of Contract Administration. We will review these 2 reports, the one from the CLA and the CAO, and work with the Office of the City Attorney to provide recommendations regarding the administration of this ordinance and any amendments that we believe are necessary, so that, again, we stay at the cutting edge of making sure that the men and women that work, not just at our airports, but on all of our contracts that are under living wage, receive appropriate health care.
Is this all right that direct the Bureau of Contract Administration, in consultation with City Attorney, CLA, and CAO, to report back in 45 days with proposed amendments to the living wage ordinance addressing issues raised by the recent litigation and action? Does that make sense?
That does, and that's also appropriate. The living wage, we've identified several issues separate and apart from this that we would like to have take place, and but we haven't, as a city family, had the chance to get together and discuss them all thoroughly. So a 45-day request from you to come back and present before you potential amendments would certainly be appropriate.
Does either the city attorney or the CAO or the CLA want to comment? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Great. Why don't you come up with this, just for the record? Valerie Flores from the City Attorney's Office. She's coming up right now to speak.
Our office has been in consultation with the Bureau of Contract Administration, and we will continue to work with them. We look forward to receiving the CAO's report and the CLA's report, and we'll take that information and hand in hand with the Bureau of Contract Administration, come back to you with proposed recommendations for updating the city's living wage ordinance.
Well, it could be a smooth transition, Mr. Member, if we can pull this off, and everybody could be at the table participating in this process.
Sure.
If I could at this point ask staff to sit aside and let me have the public come up and then come back and respond to what you heard the public say, okay? I have James Emmeldorf. I have Jose Lambera. I got Joe Colon. Let's start with you, James. You got up there first.
Okay. Thank you very much, council members. James Elmendorf from the LA Alliance for a New Economy, one of the organizations that was involved in the original adoption of the living wage back in 1997 and then the subsequent amendment at the airport in 2009. I want to start by noting that first that we would support the recommendations made by by John Reamer from BCA and as well the addition that you suggested, council member. The living wage, just so people have the context, is written in a very specific way, allowing for a health care credit. It does not require health care, and I think that's very important because the city council and the city cannot require health care of private contractors in this case. That is preempted by the 1972, I believe, ERISA, which does not allow cities to require health care in any way. That would, by the way, preclude the proposals that were made in the Parks motion that I know were otherwise referenced today. Both of those would require the city to get involved in setting up a standard for what is and is not sufficient health care, in addition to having huge maintenance challenges, since the city would have to determine what was effective health care, what was not, and then monitor whether that was really being provided or not for more than 10,000 workers. It would also put the city in violation of ERISA. So I do think it's important for the city to consider what are the impacts of the Affordable Care Act, which is a significant new change and will affect the living wage. But the city also needs to recognize the reason we're here today is not because there's a problem with the existing living wage. The existing living wage gives an excellent opportunity for companies to be able to pay a good wage or to be able to take credit for expenses that they have for health care. And in 2009, the city expanded that health care credit from $1.25 to $4.50, since gone up to $4.67 for employees at the airport, recognizing the huge costs of health care for companies. This company that was here today has the option to provide health care to its employees, or it may also provide the wage. It has that choice. No worker loses health care because of any decision that the city has made. Workers have lost health care because of the decision of a company. And so I would ask the city to look at ways to address the living wage ordinance in light of the Affordable Care Act, but to ensure to protect the rights of workers to have health care and a good wage.
Thank you for that. Sir?
He's going to need translations.
Oh, sure. Buenos días.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es José Lovera, tengo 77 años de edad, tengo 4 hijos.
My name is Jose Lovera. I'm 77 years old. I work at the airport. I have 4 children.
He trabajado en la industria de la aviación por 50 años.
I've worked in the airport industry for 45 years.
Y por más de 10 años he trabajado con Aviation Safeguards.
And for over 10 years, I've worked with aviation safeguards.
Como asistente de ACAMS.
Like a ACAMS assistant and security.
Y seguridad. Este pasado año he luchado para proteger a mi familia, para proveer una mejor vida y para proveer cuidado médico a mi esposa.
This past year, I have been fighting really hard to provide for my family with full family health benefits.
Quien sufre de cirrosis hepática, enfermedad que parece ser terminal.
Especially my wife, who suffers from cirrhosis, a sickness that could be terminal.
Lo que Aviation Safeguard hizo en diciembre del año pasado impactó a mi familia desde que rompí el contrato con el sindicato. La cobertura que ofreció tratamiento a mi esposa paró.
Because of what Aviation Safeguards did in 2011, that is walk away from the contract it had with its union, the coverage and the treatment that my wife needed stopped immediately.
Ya que yo no tenía los recursos para seguir pagando por su medicamento.
Because I didn't have the resources to pay for her medication.
Yo conocí a mi esposa cuando la atendí en el mostrador de Pan American World Airways en el aeropuerto de la Ciudad de México.
I met my wife while working at Pan Am in Mexico City.
Desde entonces hemos sido inseparables.
Since then, we've been inseparable.
Finish, go ahead.
Sí.
Lo que Aviation Safeguards ha hecho es reducir el tiempo que puedo estar con ella.
What Aviation Safeguards actions have literally reduced the time I'm going to be able to spend with her.
De parte de los trabajadores de Aviation Safeguards que apoyan el salario digno,
On behalf of all the workers of Aviation Safeguards who support the living wage ordinance,
y de todos los trabajadores que ya disfrutan de su protección,
and all the workers who benefit from its protection,
les ruego que no permitan que Aviation Safeguards interfiera en una póliza que ha hecho tanto por tantas personas en tan poco tiempo.
so I am begging you not to permit Aviation Safeguards to interfere in this policy making. They have done so much bad for so many people in so little time.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Muchas gracias. Good morning. We have two more folks. We have, what is this, Max?
Marcos Gutierrez. Actually, it was Jose Hernandez first, and then
Okay. Who's that?
Jose Hernandez.
Yeah, sure, Jose, come on up. Do I have a card for you? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, but you're up.
Thank you. Joe Conlon with Aviation Safeguards. I'd like to say we support the recommendations that came forward with Bureau of Contract Administration to review the living wage ordinance over the next 45 days and make recommendations that will benefit all of the employees at LAX so that everybody is able to provide family health care for all their employees. Our company has 100% support of an ordinance that would allow everybody to provide that family health care. I'm here just to reiterate our point that we made last week, that while this process goes on and the review takes place of the living wage ordinance, that any actions by the BCA regarding compliance are put on hold until the determination is made. We're really looking forward to an ordinance that will enable all companies to provide health care to all their employees. And I'd like to just drop off letters that our employees brought to the mayor's office from over 100 of our employees in support of working through this process for each of you. Thank you.
The most important thing is health care, besides living wage. It is clear to us that we're not too sure where the health care component ends up and how it ends up. We obviously have to define this better and stronger as a group. Can we count on you sitting at the table with the SEIU as we go forward with this?
To discuss the healthcare component, absolutely.
And can we count on Lane and SEIU to do the same thing?
Absolutely. We're happy to have any discussions to ensure workers have good wages and good health care at the airport.
Okay, thank you both
Thank you.
for your speaking. You're up, and I think I have a couple of more cards. Is there somebody else here? Joe, is that, who's Joe? I have two cards.
That was Joe.
I have two cards on you, right? That is two, is that one? And then there's this one. I see. Okay, Jose Rivera, where are you?
Just spoke.
He spoke, okay. That's James Ameldorf. Okay. What about Mark or Max?
Marcos Gutierrez. I'm
Oh,
here.
that's you.
Yes.
Okay. And that's everybody, right?
Jose Hernández.
That's it.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Buenos días, señores council members, Joe Buscaino and Bill Rosendahl. Mi nombre es José Hernández. Tengo 60 años de edad y soy padre de 4 hijos.
My name is Jose Hernandez. I am 60 years old and I'm a father of 4.
Llevo más de 11 años trabajando como asistente de silla de ruedas para personas con disabilidades para la compañía Airport Services.
I've been working for 11 years as a wheelchair attendant for airport services at LAX.
En el tiempo que llevo trabajando en el aeropuerto, no solo he trabajado para proveer para mi familia, también he luchado junto a mis compañeros para proteger los beneficios que tanto nos han costado con sudor y sacrificio.
At the time I've been working at the airport, I haven't been just working to provide for my family. I've been working here at City Hall and with all my partners back here, my coworkers, to protect the benefits that we fought for and sacrificed for so long.
Uno de esos beneficios, la cobertura médica.
One of those benefits was medical coverage, full family medical coverage,
Hoy corre riesgo. Esta compañía,
which now is at risk.
Aviation Safeguard, ahora quiere cambiar la ordenanza que por muchos años han beneficiado muchos padres y de familia con todos sus hijos.
Now this one company, Aviation Safeguards, now pretends to change the ordinance. And this is an ordinance that many parents and children have been relying on, just like me.
Mi esposa sufre de cáncer y por los últimos 2 años hemos luchado juntos para vencer esta enfermedad.
My wife suffers from cancer, and for the last few years, we've been fighting together against this disease.
Sin la cobertura que ofrece el Living Wage Ordinance que ahora tenemos, mi esposa no se hubiera mejorado.
Without the coverage of the Living Wage Ordinance, my wife would have never gotten better.
Gracias a esta ordenanza, mi esposa recibió el tratamiento necesario para salvar su vida.
Thanks to this ordinance, my wife was able to afford the care that she needed to save her life.
Mi esposa recibió el tratamiento necesario para salvar su vida. Muchos trabajadores como José Lovera no tienen esa suerte.
And many workers like Mr. Lovera, who just testified before you, don't have that luxury.
Es por eso que estoy aquí, de parte de mis compañeros, para decirles que hay miles y miles de padres de familia que no quieren arriesgar el beneficio de sus seres queridos.
And so I'm here to tell you that there's thousands of parents and children that don't want to put these full family benefits at risk.
De su parte vengo ante ustedes para pedirles que no permitan que esta compañía cambie las leyes por conveniencia propia.
So I'm asking you to please do not allow one company to change the living wage ordinance to suit them.
Que protejan a los miles de trabajadores que dependen del Living Wage Ordinance.
Think of the thousands of workers who are already depending on the living wage ordinance as is.
Como yo y mi esposa.
Like me and my wife.
Porque no hay ningún dinero en el mundo que te salve cuando tú estás enfermo.
Because there is no amount of money that can help if you don't have the care.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Gracias.
So us, Marks Gutierrez, SEIU, USWW, we basically are here to, yes, definitely echo the previous speakers. We support Mr. BCA looking at a study. We also want to be at the table for any amendments that would help keep protecting workers like Jose Lovera and Jose Hernandez here. We do actually, I know there was some discussion last time about any opt-outs for certain workers, and we do want to just be on the record as we were last time and echo that we oppose that. We feel that the fight to push any opt-outs by Aviation Safeguards is a discussion that is basically put there based on trying to break our union. This company has been breaking our union since the early part of this year. The company has produced material which places blame of healthcare issues squarely on the City Council and on the Mayor of Los Angeles. At a March meeting of the Board of Airport Commission, Commissioner Joe Aritas asked one of the Aviation Safeguards workers who wrote the statement that he was reading aloud. The worker admitted, for the record, that the company wrote the letter, and those were his exact words. This is why they are agitating many of their employees. It's not about what's right for the workers. It's about breaking the union. The opt-out system has been tested at LAX when Aviation Safeguards adopted this approach in violation of the living wage law. The health plans provided to Aviation Safeguards workers left many unable to provide coverage for their families, like the first Jose Lovera that you just heard. I know of a case of one worker whose wife and children lost their health insurance when aviation shifted away from full family coverage. Ronel Elisao can't afford to enroll his family in the new plan because that would reduce his take-home pay below what he was earning before, making it impossible for him to pay his bills. Ronel and his family are now without coverage, essentially placing them just one hospital bill away from financial disaster. So we ask you, as our workers have asked you, not to be manipulated in this way. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank everybody. The folks who demonstrated Friday, would you stand up so I could see you as well? Okay.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 21st. Okay, thank you very much, and I would also add that our LAPD, it's fine, we're finished speaking, has played a leadership role with our mayor and with others on keeping the situation in such a way that there were arrests, there were 1,500 workers. I was constantly on the phone with Mike Garcia to make sure everything was moving in the right direction. But it also had some sidebar benefits of the police action, which was the disruption was not as dramatic as many people thought it would be, but the symbolism of what was the issue was well articulated. And so in a certain way, I kind of think everybody got an appreciation of what was going on, not just from the workers, but also the management wanting to get at the table and do some fine-tuning on some of these healthcare issues. And I think our own city is showing a lot more prudence and smarts by saying, let's get it all together, let's analyze it all, let's bring the various parts of the city together, let's see if we can come to a conclusion in a 45-day period. If we need more than 45 days, the mayor's office make a comment. I'd like to hear from you on the record. I know you participated in these meetings. I was in constant contact with the mayor through it and Mike Garcia and Aviation Safeguard, just to sense where the energy was going. So if you could just give us a quick thumbnails update, and then we'll move forward.
Thank you, Brian Curry, Council to Mayor Villaraigosa. We concur that we should take a holistic view of the situation. The airport is our proprietary enterprise. We have a real concern about what goes on there. Obviously, we have moving pieces here in place with the Health Care Act coming in play. So we're very much in favor of making changes to the ordinance, but doing so in a way that reflects an understanding of what's going on at the airport today and our interests in running an airport.
Okay, so we'll make it through the holidays, as I see the clock ticking here. And so we'll be back in January with a full update and report and analysis, and a sense, I hope, that all parts of the family participate.
We hope we can move more quickly than that.
Oh, even better.
Okay, good. May I ask my colleague for a motion to move forward?
I move that we move forward on the recommendation on report back in 45 days.
Great. Anything else to be said? Okay, well then, I obviously enthusiastically second it. I look forward in this holiday season for that cooperative spirit. We got to have a living wage, and we got to have health care for our people in this great country. No, 1 through 4. 1 through 4.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, yes. I move.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 through 4.
Yeah, the ones that we mentioned, folks, it was part of it. Okay. All right, so moved. Thank you all. Muchas gracias. Yeah, no, we said that. Don't you have it? The handwritten one? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis is done.
Usually I make them.
This was great. Tell the aviation safeguard guy, this was great, and I'm hoping that it works with you.